What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Week 14 Swolecast. No Soccer Dave. He typed in our chat yesterday that he was probable with a case of the man flu. Woke up this morning and said, "Oh, my throat hurts. I can't possibly do 45 minutes of banter with my friends." So no Soccer Dave. And Tuttle right now is grinding projections for a midweek English Premier League slate instead of giving you guys the goods. But we're here, Week 14. Can't wait to stack Houston, New York Jets. It is the Week 14 Swolecast. You gave me static from the Swolecast? I was like, yep, that's me.
I just want you guys to know I'm total dust. I'm the problem.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Leave it to the guy with the crypto dunes, Abby, to not understand context.
I should have known you getting 30 likes was directly written by someone else.
You know me, I don't do a ton of research before the show.
I've put no research into this. Don't know if it's true at all.
You're on the right show.
Do it, bro. Live a little.
Live a little.
Just live a little, guys.
All right, boys. We're here. We have been graced with $5,900 Zach Moss in the exact same spot that he was in last week. 19 carries inside the 5-yard line for Zach Moss, no touchdowns. But yeah, you know, the Christmas season is here. It's the first slate of December that we're doing this show. Kerrane is with us instead of Mr. Tuttle 05. So the third person on this show, I think, will be able to get 15 minutes of words edgewise between the two of us, Peter. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, this is the long con to slowly turn the Swolecast into ship chasing. We're just like, you know, week by week. We'll substitute you for Gretsch next week, and we'll just, you know, commandeer the Swolecast airwaves eventually.
I mean, if you think I'm giving up these better collective paychecks, you got another thing coming, brother.
It's not so much the better collective paychecks. It's a platform to fish for head-to-head invites on DraftKings. That's what you use this platform.
Oh, it has been, let me tell you, the invite streets have been so kind to me this year. Kerrane, how we doing, bud? How you living?
Doing good. I mean, if we could just get control of the StreamYard here and put up the ship chasing, I think we're pretty close to there. We can fool the people that it's ship chasing.
The transition would be complete. All right, Peter. It is not the funnest week in NFL daily fantasy football history, so I really need you to bring it with the Overzet's overview.
Okay.
Got that dog in a butt. Got that dog in a butt. Overzet overview. Come on.
Yeah, you guys are going to get a lot of content because peek behind the curtain. I normally write these Wednesday mornings, like 9:30 or 10. I hadn't opened up our Slack chat, so I write the Overzet's overview. I go in there. I see Tuttle saying, "Can we do the show at a different time?" Blah blah blah. And I see that he's out and that Davis is going to reach out to Kerrane. So I'm like, "All right, I'll go add some Kerrane stuff to the Overzet's overview." Type that in. Then I check back again, and now Kitchen says he can't go in. So now I have to go back and add information. So you guys are going to get your bang for your buck with the Overzet's overview here.
And it hasn't even started yet.
It hasn't even started. I do want to read the full injury report. Mr. Tuttle 05 is out with a UCL. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's very inside baseball. So it's funny to me, but only like 10 people got it. But it's very funny.
I feel like we've referenced UCL enough on him with his soccer projections. And David Kitchen is out with a sore throat after screaming for Derrick Henry all day on Sunday. So yeah, we are running a skeleton crew here. Last week, though, guys, our Swolecast lineup was still a disaster despite having DFS pro Ricky D on hand to try to save it. Our lineup scored 123.46 points. For reference, Davis, I think your cash team scored like 169 points?
Yeah, almost harder to build 120 points than 180 points last week, truly.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened, but actually I do. Maybe this is the week that Davis doesn't force A.T. Perry into our goddamn lineup, Davis. No A.T. Perry.
This is coming, dude.
No.
To be fair, I think I selected Lynn Bowden last week instead.
Yeah, that worked out. But it wasn't just A.T. Perry. We also had the genius idea to stack up Sam Howell with Terry McLaurin who had less receptions than Deron Bland had interceptions in week 13. There's a fun Deron Bland fact for you, Davis.
This is going to go viral now.
To add insult to injury, we did lose to Clay Matthews in his own free roll contest on DraftKings. And I should probably just stop taunting him at this point because he's been probably crushing us in the aggregate. Clay did the prudent thing and played. Wait, let me look at this. No, he played an unstacked Brock Purdy, guys. Clay Matthews rolled out unstacked Brock Purdy. This dude saw one thread from Max Steinberg about naked Purdy being GTO and said, I have the Sims in my goddamn head. I think Clay Matthews is a sim bro now, guys. The dude also played Jalen Waddle as the ultimate leverage off of Tyreek Hill.
Wow, you might just be watching the show at this point, honestly.
He's a fan. I mean, Clay Matthews is out here galaxy braining GPP plays. He makes way too fancy of plays and still beats the monstrosities that we build on a Wednesday. Shout out to Clay Matthews. Thanks again to Ricky D for filling in last week. He enjoyed some Swolecast run good in week 13. He posted a screenshot of his winnings on Twitter. $12,000, $902 in, wait a second. That's not profit.
No, it is profit. 13K profit. Nice and easy.
Yeah. Winning 12,000 would have been my best week of the year, but Ricky D didn't obscure the amount entered. He had this isn't a joke. He had $228,215 in play on DraftKings in week 13. That's why when touts tell you that winning the Millionaire Maker just got them even, they're not lying. No, yeah. I mean, you got to win the Millionaire Maker every 5 weeks if that's what your ROI is. That's what you get for hanging around with us, Ricky, and also for touting fucking Austin Eckler. I mean, come on, Ricky. This week we do have Patrick Kerrane filling in. And luckily, there's no way he would ever tout Austin Eckler. Dude has done jack shit for him throughout Pat's playing career. Davis, I do have to ask, how many people did you reach out to ask to jump on today before you settled for Kerrane?
0.
Wow. That's just because Davis knows that you'll say yes and that he's not going to have to go fish around.
Well, normally I would ask Silva first because for the vibes, getting the band back together. But I did this maybe 6 weeks ago when Tuttle didn't want to do it. And Reeves and Silva and Thorman and JJ were all like, dude, we are so fucking busy. We're not doing your dumb little show. So I was like, all right, I did it the one time.
It's not dumb. This is our show and it's very important. In other news, Bitcoin and NFTs are pumping, which means we are just one failed late swap away from Davis shilling something like the Golden Pups again online.
Well, also, are we sure we know why Kitchen's not here?
He might be claiming a lot of mooncats right now.
Yeah. He's finally buying the dip on board 8 before it goes to the moon again. The best ball playoffs start next week, and I recommend if maybe we have some best ball maxis tuning in because Kerrane is here. I do recommend you guys play DFS this weekend just to get some practice for what it's like to get your dick kicked in before you realize how cool these advancement structures are going to be. It's great practice. Come get dusted with us. You'll feel a lot better when you lose 99% of your teams after week 14, week 15. Another talking point in the DFS GPP streets, lots of talking heads, pundits concerned about how the Sims are impacting DFS ownership projections and how this constant leveling dynamic is making the games harder. Luckily on the Swolecast, we are simply focused on picking the worst plays on a Wednesday. We are the level. That's what I realized. We are the initial level that everyone can out-level themselves on. In week 14, we somehow have a Monday Night Football doubleheader that starts at the same time. I guess Goodell didn't spring for Chat GPT Plus when he made the schedule with AI on this one. Seriously, 2 games at the same time on a Monday. The best game of the week is on a Sunday night, Dallas and Eagles. Half the league is starting backup QBs. Your bankroll has slowly been siphoned off into the pockets of Jason Robbins, and you just canceled your Sim subscription because it told you to play Zach Moss at 75% ownership. Eat Arby's. Back to you, not Dave. Back to you, Davis.
Well, I mean, look, if you liked playing Zach Moss at 77% ownership last week, you are going to fucking love to play him at 77% ownership this week because not a single thing has changed. The context of the slate These are the games with totals above 45. Seattle, San Francisco, just because San Francisco's team total is so high. Buffalo, Kansas City. And that's it. That's all we got. That's all we got for high total games. These are some of the quarterbacks that are starting. Joe Flacco, probably Trevor Siemian, maybe Brett Rippon, CJ Beathard or Nathan Rourke, Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell, Jake Browning, Jameis Winston, Josh Dobbs. I mean, this is everyone says, oh, it's the craziest NFL season ever. We never could have. I mean, this actually is the worst. Like, it is. Having to stare Jake Browning in the face is so brutal. Zach Wilson is also not starting, by the way. Chad.
It's tough because
he is. They just announced that
he is starting.
A lot of time left on that clock, Peter. A lot of time left for new developments before Sunday morning. A lot of ball game left.
Let me tell you. So this quote, Davis, you're calling bullshit on this quote from Robert Saleh earlier. We always believed he was the best QB in terms of giving us the chance to win.
Yes, I am. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the challenge flag. Robert Saleh, that you believe.
I'll let you book however much money you want, Davis. I get Zach Wilson is starting this week, and you get the other side for you can.
What odds? What odds do you give me that any non-Zach Wilson? Give me a price, and I'll tell you if I'll bet it.
I'll give you 10-1.
I'll book that for $20.
Okay, done. Anyways,
what about week 17 JSN versus Tyler Lockett? Who does Leone project for more points?
Yeah, Kerrane, handicap that one. Who do you think projects for more in week 17, assuming full health for everyone?
From Leone?
Yeah, yes, Leone projects. Oh God,
Tyler Lockett.
What if this is the 1 week that Leone's just like far off from industry consensus? Everyone has JSN projected higher, and I get screwed by Leone going rogue.
Just by Leone regressing everything to the absolute nth level. All right, so this is the most interesting question of the week that you have to decide before you start building anything, and your answer to this question will determine your entire strategy for the week, which is Patrick Mahomes still good? Because if the answer is I don't know, or no, or I'm unsure, that changes a lot. If your answer is a definitive yes, I still think Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, then a lot opens up to you that would not be open up, because that is still the highest team. That's the highest total game of the week. Kansas City's 25-point team total is the third highest of the slate. Third highest. It's higher than Baltimore. So, Kerrane, what do you say?
Well, also, like, Pacheco's looking like a decent value, so maybe are we going to get like leverage on top of it all with Mahomes?
Well, what if he's suspended for punching a dude in the face?
Oh, right.
Have you thought about it?
Is that a thing?
Sam Sherman mentioned it in his EstablishTheRun.com waiver wire column as a reason to pick up Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So,
wow, I didn't know ETR had turned into a tinfoil hat conspiracy.
I mean, it is. I think it is. I think that is a legit. And the chat is telling us that he's questionable. I mean, he's like everyone's questionable on Wednesday. Let's just say hypothetically Pacheco doesn't play and McKinnon is still out. Does that make you more or less interested in Mahomes stacks?
More.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's tough for me with that too is just how the Chiefs have been playing, right? Where their defense is good.
Bad.
They've been running the ball. The question is, did the Bills just come out, pants on fire? They read some of Chess Liam's tweets, fired themselves up. They're ready to run the table.
We're running the table, baby. The Bills have been running the table since week 8. Liam's been pretty confident about running the table since week 8.
They haven't been fully running the table, though. They need to practice on their running the table because they keep losing games.
What do you think if Liam had to choose between these two outcomes? The Bills run the table, but they install Dawson Knox as a 90% share tight end and relegate, Dalton Kincaid to just complete
what he was before.
But they run the table and make the playoffs, or Dalton Kincaid just crushes every single game and the Bills don't make the playoffs. Which one would you choose?
Well, first off, I'd be remiss if I didn't make this joke, which is that the Bills can't run the table because their fans jump through it. That's an obvious one. That was an obvious one. Liam would definitely rather the latter. He would rather the Kincaid bags get pumped, and he just says, it wasn't our year. We'll be back. Liam is
Because
a master laundry
you get
flipper.
so, especially if it comes in like a near miss. The Bills kind of showed that they should have made it, but they didn't. And then he gets to talk about how the playoffs are basically like an asterisk playoffs because the Bills didn't make it. And then
the
he's
Bengals
talking
didn't
about
make it. He'll have double asterisk because the Bills and the Bengals are both.
We'll start talking about the refs in the Eagles game. It'll be January or something.
Then he gets a whole offseason of Josh Allen disrespected, but he's going to come roaring back, prove that he's the best.
It's so obvious.
Yeah.
So, Peter, this is pretty interesting to me, which is that the Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes are all, these high projected quarterbacks or whatever. It's hard, I think, for ownership to totally flow to them because the field is just going to do what they saw last week, which is I'm playing Purdy, brother. Purdy just gets 40, just gets 30 every single week. He is 6,500. He's the clear value. That'll be who people play in cash. I think people probably learned their lesson with Russell Wilson last week. They put their hand on the stove too many times. And then I can close my eyes and I can peer in the crystal ball. I already know what I'm doing, which is I will play a bunch of DJ Moore and Justin Fields and then get mad when the Purdy Debo team ships it for the third week in a row, I think.
I do think the Purdy stuff is interesting. He had his second worst game of the season against Seattle on that Thanksgiving evening. Christian McCaffrey went nuts in that game. And I it's been in my head ever since Reeves said it, but kind of respecting the Seahawks secondary just a little bit more. I don't know if it's not as clean of a spot as it was last week. The price is up. The interest is going to be much higher. I do really like the idea of getting to like Fields, Lamar, or Mahomes this week and avoiding, slappy Brock chalk.
What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I like the Mahomes angle, but I'm a little bit nervous about the Bills, honestly, with like the way they've been running the offense since Brady took over. They've been pretty conservative on first down. They've like really low pass rate over expected on first down, and they've like I don't know. I guess like if we need that game to be fun and shoot out, right? So that makes me like a little bit nervous that actually this offense has like kind of been sneaky conservative since they got rid of Dorsey.
What do any of you guys buy into that kind of narrative that when these elite teams play each other, they kind of like throw out their traditional playbook and they don't play as scared because they know no lead is safe?
Yeah,
I do. Because I look at this Bills Chiefs game, right? I assume all of our first inclination is going back to that divisional game where Gabe Davis went nuts like 2 or so years ago. And it's like, do these guys actually have a shootout game in them? Because the current iteration of the Chiefs certainly doesn't feel like it. But I want to still believe there's potential there.
That is, I think you literally saw it last week. I think the 49ers were still chucking the ball up 28 points in the fourth. Debo's last touchdown came on a 3rd and 7 up 30 points when Jalen Hurts had gone to the locker room with an injury. Like I couldn't believe that anymore. Yeah. They're humans. These guys are humans. Like, you think Josh Allen doesn't want to go out? Like, Josh Allen probably doesn't like Mahomes. Like, actually, like he probably like looks at that guy and is like, this fucking 13 seconds, my ass, dude.
The Sims can't capture that.
Well, they can. The Sims can capture everything, dude. Come on, the Sims know. I think that's a real thing. I really do. Not very scientific of me, but yeah, I think both of these teams would like to score 35 points. Absolutely.
Pat, what do you think people do with Lamar? What do you think about this spot for him? Last we were seeing, it was Zay Flowers kind of like cratering some of his passing production because he was taking, carries 45 yards to the house. I feel like people never know how to stack up Lamar. Now, even with Mark Andrews, that gets even more difficult.
Yeah, Lamar, I think is in a really nice spot. And then you also get like he's been kind of like when I look at EPA versus success rate, I share this chart in the walkthrough every week, and certain guys kind of pop as positive regression candidates because they've been more consistent than their efficiency would suggest. So there's maybe potential for them to jump up. And Lamar has been kind of one of these guys before. He was kind of popping in this part of the chart right before the Lions game. Trevor Lawrence was also one of these candidates. Geno Smith has been one of these candidates, which he just had the big game. So it's been something I've been trying to keep an eye on. And Lamar Jackson's kind of settled back into that same spot in the chart that he was before the Lions game, or close to it. So I'm like, he's kind of just from that alone, just like kind of popping as a potential positive regression candidate. And then when you pair that with a matchup that's pretty easy.
Whenever Gus Edwards stops scoring 3 rushing touchdowns per game, Lamar is going to have nuke spots.
Yeah. And this definitely shapes. I mean, the Rams don't defend the middle of the field very well. The Ravens have been pretty aggressive at attacking the middle of the field. They're 30th in PFF's coverage grades. They don't really take away first reads particularly well. I guess with the Ravens, that's not all that helpful because we don't really know who they're going to go to. But I think just from the Lamar side, obviously there's stacking issues, but this is a really nice spot. I guess what's going on with the Rams quarterback? Are we going to get a backup? Because that's not going to be fun for the game environment.
Is Stafford injured again?
I didn't see anything about him. I thought he was fine.
Oh, you said you mentioned Rippin, so then I was worried I'd missed a Stafford thing.
He's on the Jets.
He got signed by the Jets.
That's where Davis is booking. Well, he thinks Rippin's going to start over.
Okay, God, you have me nervous. All right, yeah. So I like the spot a lot for Lamar.
Yeah. What do you? Dave. Just a thought on Davis's. I like that call too. Of Gus Edwards always craters the Lamar stuff. Like if you were playing 2 lineups and you had one with Lamar, like almost for sure play Gus Edwards in the other one as a way to like lever your own, weekly portfolio of like, this is a good spot for the Ravens. They have a nice team total, probably going to score 3 to 4 touchdowns, either try to capture it through Lamar or Gus Edwards.
I think the nice thing about Lamar now is that you can stack him cheaper because you don't have to play Andrews. You can do Zay, you could do Likely, you could do Beckham.
Yeah. Like, what do you guys? Yeah, we'll get to Likely, but I just feel like tight end conversation is now just so directly tied to quarterbacks. I do think if I was rolling out Lamar, I think I'd almost just lock in Likely at 3,500 with him.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
I
think that's true. All right, let's build a DraftKings lineup, and I will let Mr. Kerrane, our guest pick, hit us off.
Let's go Lamar. That's
yeah.
Beautiful.
It's the only thing I felt excited about as we talked.
Who do you want to stack him with?
Well, I like the Likely call, and then
I'm big on Likely.
Let's not screw around, guys. I can't come back next week and have to eat shit in front of Clay Matthews again. Let's stick the landing here.
Yeah, let's play Likely.
All right.
But are we doubling it?
No, you don't want to double stack Lamar. I don't think.
I mean, with a 3,500 tight end, I think you can.
To me, when I mentioned the Likely thing, that was more just even like outside of it. Like I just think you correlate at the position. It's cheap. To me, I almost don't even consider that as the
What
stack.
about OBJ? 3,800.
That's cheap. Yeah.
Bill Barnwell will unblock me if this lineup.
Yes.
There we go.
You know what?
Yeah.
I will try to renegotiate with Barnwell. If those of you guys don't know, when Barnwell came on, I think it was on Ship Chasing, Davis said, "Hey, can you get me unblocked?" And Barnwell said, "Oh, this was on DFS After Dark, whatever." He said that Davis has to win a tournament with Odell Beckham, and then he will unblock him. I'm going to see if I can renegotiate, and if we just finish in the top half of the Clay Matthews DoorDash football series, that'll unblock him with Odell Beckham. I think we can do this, guys.
Perfect. All right, Peter, make a pick.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna put in a gross one. Someone has to get some groans going, but I really like the price. I like the matchup. I don't think anyone's gonna play him. One Mr. Drake London at home versus the Bucks.
No
that
groans.
That is a groaner. That is.
See, I knew Davis would groan. Pat, you're not groaning with me?
I'm not groaning. I mean, I think honestly, just man up and play Pitts. Did 90% route participation last week, but sure.
Yeah, I agree.
No, we already chewed up our. Can you imagine a worse lineup than double tight end with Isaiah Likely and Kyle Pitts? The most opium tight end lineup ever.
Oh, you need Austin Safarian-Jenkins somehow to get in there to complete the triumvirate. All right, I'll do it then. I'll take Zach Moss for $5,900 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Back to you, Kerrane.
Now, why is he going to be quite as popular as last week? I mean, the price is up significantly, and
worse slate.
Yeah,
he's not going to be 75%.
Maybe he'll be 65%. I don't know. I mean, he's as good of a. Nothing changed in his context. He gave up 3 snaps. Whole game that went to overtime. He gave up 3 snaps, 2 to Tyler Goodson, 1 to Trey Sermon.
I agree with you, and I would argue it's an even better matchup, but I would be pretty surprised if he's over 50% this week.
The Sims are going to love it.
I don't know. Because I think there's other guys in the price range that were before he opened everything up.
I mean, he projects 5 points better than the guys around him, basically.
Yeah. He's a great play. I think you don't have to worry about 75% this week.
Well, I wasn't worried about it. I was clicking it regardless.
Can we get McCaffrey in here?
Yeah, I mean, we've been saving money on this build.
Yeah, we can pretty comfortably play McCaffrey. All right, Peter.
Let's get a defense in here. Let's give me I think they're probably going to end up being popular. We could do Chiefs. I was going to do Browns versus Beathard at 3K.
Sure, that's fine.
That leaves us 6,150 for 2 spots.
All right. Wow, this 6K wide receiver range has turned to dust so fast, man. This was a really good range earlier in the season. Now it's like Cortland Sutton, Chris Godwin, T. Higgins. You know what? I'm going to go back.
Ooh, can I give you a combo that fits? I'm just going to throw it out there. Sure. Rashee Rice, Brandon Ayuk fits. was messing with something, but
I was going to see what happened and what we could get to if we took Zay Jones, because we can play Zay Jones and Justin Jefferson. If
you want to triple stack Lamar in a contest that's literally unlimited entries.
Zay Jones, not Zay Flowers.
Zay Jones.
Oh, Zay Jones. Okay.
And then you put in the right guy.
Yeah. Zay Jones, Justin Jefferson. That I think it's just faded that every week of every year in the NFL, Zay Jones just going to absolutely smash in week 14 and week 15.
That's why you're doing it.
Guys, yeah. I hate to do this. I normally would never do it. I'm going rogue. I'm playing Rashee Rice and Brandon Ayuk in the
That's fine. Let's do that. I'll do that. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no to Rashee Rice. I don't love Ayuk. I always prefer Debo. So I'm going to do that on mine. I'm clicking Debo on mine.
The slappies are going to chase Debo. I mean, the Debo stuff.
Do they play man or zone? Is it the man or the zone matchup?
Craig, what's your take on in these gauntlet early playoff basketball? Don't worry, I'm not going to go too far down this rabbit hole. That Debo is going ahead of Ayuk in those.
Is he? No, Ayuk's going ahead.
I thought Debo, when the contest first opened, the ADP, it must have adjusted. It was right after the week had ended, and Debo had a higher ADP.
Debo has a higher individual game ceiling than Ayuk, so he should go ahead.
I don't think that's true.
I don't know if
I definitely think that the guy who had 1 billion yards and 3 touchdowns on 7 touches last week has a higher ceiling. Me personally. To quote Sam Sherman, sometimes the easiest way to figure out what a guy can do is to see what he's done before. And Debo has multiple 40 burgers on his resume.
Debo's very good. I think having the number 1 downfield wide receiver on a team that's putting up a ton of points.
But Purdy doesn't throw downfield that much. Not that Debo's getting 1 billion touches per game either, though.
I mean, didn't he have 5 catches in that game? I mean, he's great, but
yeah, Ayuk is awesome. I'm not really despairing. I'm just a Debo slappy.
I would just say, in general, if over the years you were just I'm going to play whichever of these guys is the least popular, from the San Francisco trio, that has been a profitable strategy long term.
You would have lost last week.
I said long-term, Davis.
I'm just
Fucking
saying.
Devo slappy.
Sometimes you just got to pick the right ones. It's kind of what the Sims
Go
will
ahead.
tell you.
Go ahead and play Zay Jones with CJ Beathard against our own defense here. Meanwhile,
Zay
Pat
Jones,
and I.
Zay Jones is completely immune to who his quarterback is. He just exists. He just exists for Josh Norris to victory lap. Like that's why that's his.
No.
his
Josh Norris is distracted now that Joshua Palmer's 21-day practice window is
no,
open.
Oh, baby.
Josh Norris is too busy bag defending everything that's ever happened to Bryce Young. He's like yelling at Bryce Young's 4th grade chemistry teacher for being mean to him or whatever.
All right, let's move on.
All right, let's move on to running back. So really, I mean, we kind of skipped over it, but the question of the week is, what do you do with Zach Moss? Do you play Joe Mixon coming off his best game of the year with Jake Browning? Do we trust the Bijan workload? And Zach Charbonnet also projects extremely well. He's questionable right now. We did literally get this matchup, slightly over 2 weeks ago, 16 days ago. And Zach Charbonnet got 88% of the snaps and like 4 fantasy points. So what do you do?
I'm intrigued by Bijan for sure. I mean, I think Bijan's like, he's going against this Tampa Bay run defense that's 4th in EPL per play or 4th in EPL per rush, but they like rank really poorly and not like all the other rushing metrics that I've been looking at. And they just like, they haven't allowed a ton of touchdowns over the course of the season, but they have allowed some touchdowns recently, and they're not good in success rate. They're not good in ESPN's run stop win rate. So I don't think it's like all that challenging of a rushing matchup. And then you also have like the little bonus factor of like, maybe they actually attack the Buccaneers through the air where they stink. And obviously they're not going to attack them like another team would, but maybe we get like a shift away from this ultra run heavy style that we've seen recently from the Falcons. And that would be good for Bijan Robinson. He's got a 15% target share. So, he'll be involved there. It's like one of these things where he's probably going to get 50% of the carries, but he's been doing that and getting above 20 opportunities for the last 3 weeks because they've been running so much. So I think it's pretty solid spot for him. You're worried about, I guess you're worried a little bit about like the pure ceiling of it, but as like a median projection play, he's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I've been doing the Bijan thing a lot. And I think ultimately where I've landed is like, it's so hard for him to get to his absolute ceiling just because of how conservative the team is. Like he did, 2 weeks ago, he got 27. He scored a 40-yard passing touchdown, I think, from Ritter. Like, obviously, I love Bijan. I am a Bijan slappy, but this feels like a spot where like Tyler Algier is getting 11 carries, Cordarrelle Patterson's getting 9. I mean, I'll definitely play him some just because the other guys in that range, like finally, Rachaad White has been killing it all year, and they finally raised his price. He finally got up to 6,800. Like he's more expensive than Bijan. Definitely rather play Bijan than Rachaad White. So it's just, I don't know. It's kind of tricky.
One note I would make, I think we had initially started talking about Zach Charbonnet and even Rachaad White here too. It's like, how many times have we talked ourselves out of running back plays because of her perceived bad matchup when if the volume has been there, they've smashed. We had the Barkley game a few weeks ago. This past week, we had James Conner just get absolutely fed and dominate in a quote unquote bad matchup. To me, Zach Charbonnet really stands out. Like he's been getting about 15 carries, 5 to 6 targets a game, like every week since Kenneth Walker has been out. And I know the Niners are good, but I'm okay chasing the volume, especially on these guys that are super cheap.
Yeah.
I like
just
that.
like, I think one, I'm playing all the Moss. I'll probably just play him on every team. Then I've only got 2 other slots left. At least one team will be McCaffrey, right? I'll definitely want to get McCaffrey in this spot. And then, so it's like, okay, you've got Bijan, you've got Sharps, you've got Javonte, you've got Kyron, you've got Rashad. I'm having a hard time choosing. Haven't even mentioned James Cook yet at $6,000 against this like unbelievably weird high scoring matchup. Like James Cook could totally get 25 here. Like No doubt in my mind.
Is Charbonnet? I mean, isn't Charbonnet dealing with a knee injury?
Shoulder injury, I think.
I thought it knee.
Yeah, but Kenneth Walker could also be back. It's a first look show. It's a first look type program. So,
well, you mentioned Javonte. We should talk about him. I mean, his workload has been really solid. It does seem like they're ramping him up. We were kind of digging into that on Stat Chasing last night. They've stopped some of the tomfoolery with Jaleel McLaughlin, and the Chargers are just such a dumpster fire. He's another guy where I feel like things are trending in the right direction for him. And Gretsch pointed this out. I couldn't believe this. Has not scored a rushing touchdown this year. Javonte Williams.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That is wild. Yeah.
The Chargers might be able to break that streak for us, though.
Yeah, I think they can. And the Broncos have been really run heavy recently. Like they've been pass rate over expected. They've been -8% or lower in 3 of the last 4 weeks, -6% or lower in 4 of the last 5. So they're kind of like going back to that, like managing the crap out of Russ and, trying to get some big plays through the air, but just like super, super run heavy style. And their defense has actually been good recently. So it's kind of working.
Not spot for him.
I definitely think he's a very strong volume play. I think my concern would probably be about like what his absolute ceiling could be, because he's not going to catch too many passes. Is week 14. He has not recorded a rushing touchdown. So probably not a ton of 2 touchdown games in his range. I don't know. Maybe that's true. So something that I noticed.
I think he could get 2 touchdowns. I think that's your path.
If I told you Jaleel McLaughlin played 9 snaps last week, how many touches do you think he got?
I don't know. He seems to like average a touch every other time he's on the field. I'll say 4.
Six touches on 9 snaps.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like he is, I mean, you know who he is. He is the Pierre Thomas in the Sean Payton, hierarchy type thing. I don't know. Like I also think what do we think Javonte is going to be owned? Like I'm looking at this shit right now and I'm like, Javonte is going to be jammed. Like people are going to want to play him.
Really? Why? I mean,
$5,800.
I guess in the Sims era.
Stink.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I know Moss will project well, but this feels like a spot where, like last week, like I was saying, like you kind of had to play Moss to do the stuff you wanted to do, and it was like,
for Tyreek and McCaffrey.
Tyreek and McCaffrey, and like the Eagles game and all that. Like Moss was coming along for the ride in a way, and Moss is more expensive than Javonte, so I think this feels more like a week where we kind of do the leveling thing a little bit at running back, and not that these guys will pass Moss, but that Moss will, I think, be held in check, at least compared to last week for sure.
Yeah.
By people moving to some of these guys. But I don't know. I guess I'm worried that like Javonte and some of the other options won't be sneaky at all because people will be moving off of them to get that ownership discount.
Yeah, CMC's really the only sexy guy at the top, right? Like Diggs is cooled off. Keenan, you're worried about just still like dumpster fire. Charger stuff, Jefferson coming back. Amon-Ra, like there's good plays, but none of them are just like super sexy in the way Tyreek Hill was last week.
No one will be 55% owned.
No.
Yeah.
Well, what about Mixon? I mean, Mixon's more expensive than Moss, and I mean, I know it's gross.
I wouldn't play Joe Mixon as the second most expensive running back play of a slate, even if I was on fire.
Chase Brown's future backup, Joe Mixon.
It's against my principles. Now, my principles might get invalidated when I go to check sim stuff Sunday morning, and he's like the number 1 most optimal player in the entire slate.
I think that might be what happens.
The Sims are wrong, brother. They don't know the ownerships. The ownerships. It's a castle built on sand, just like Ethereum. Like where you can't do it.
You can run back the Galbrain leverage play I floated last week and then didn't have the stones to do myself, which is you fade Zach Moss, play Derrick Henry in the Titans D against the Colts. This week you fade Zach Moss, play Joe Mixon in the Bengals D.
How many, what's the combinatorial ownership of Joe Mixon and Zach Moss going to be? Higher than it should be, probably, I think.
Yeah.
And then we haven't even talked about Kerrane, who is 4 touches or 4 snaps for Royce Freeman last week. They just said, Kerrane, it's your show, brother.
How's the matchup for him, Baltimore, Pat? Did they do anything for receiving backs?
The rate. I mean, my concern would just be that Baltimore is very good overall. So are the Ravens going to be moving the ball? Or sorry, the Rams going to be moving the ball effectively through the air? Because the Ravens are pretty good against the run, and then they're obviously elite against the pass.
Peter just told us we shouldn't care about the matchup and just chase the volume, though, right?
I mean, that was the case last week. Everyone's got scared off of it. The projections were low on Kerrane. It's like, does it fucking matter if this guy's getting 25 touches and all the goal line work?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. All right, let's do wide receivers. Justin Jefferson returns. Can you guys ever remember Justin Jefferson being 8,500? That's got to be way lower than his normal price, right? Or am I wrong?
I feel like
Pete's not impressed. He's only want to get him in the lineup,
Yeah, Pete was like Zay Jones and Justin Jefferson. That'll never work.
No way, dude.
I got to see it first. He's coming off
him.
Madison, more like mad at him, brother. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting spot, right? Because in general, too, like guys coming back from injury and stuff, like you almost always want to take the injury discount, both price and ownership. They've been very cautious with him, right? He was like questionable 4 weeks ago and they kept keeping him out. So I think you assume full health. I guess the whole thing is like Joshua Dobbs, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. Is there any kind of shift? Because there are new variables from when we last saw him.
What is the variable, Peter?
Joshua Dobbs.
Oh,
and Jordan Addison's breakout.
Yeah, but Jordan Addison is not even earning targets at like an Adam Thielen level. Like he's played with other good pass catchers before, and it hasn't mattered.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't think he can have a good game here, but I'm just acknowledging there are unique variables that we haven't seen for Justin Jefferson in play yet.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's definitely true in the sense that like each day is a brand new day, and it's the first day. It's the first day of the rest of your life. What I will say is that the way things are working out for the Vikings, that if they win this game, they go to 56% probability to make the playoffs. If they win their next game, they go to 70%. But if they lose this game to the Raiders, they go to sub 20% to make the playoffs. My take would be they are absolutely gunning as hard as possible. Like Justin Jefferson is going to be getting 10, 11, 12 targets here. Like it's full on the Justin Jefferson experience. And I think that what we were talking about last week, there's not really an uber high-end elite guy that you just think is getting 30 the way we did last week with Tyreek. I would say Justin Jefferson's most likely to be that guy.
Yeah, I think Jefferson and Dobbs, I mean, obviously it's a downgrade with Cousins, and Dobbs is coming off a horrific game before the bye. But the interesting thing about Dobbs is that he does throw to his first read a lot. He's fourth highest among quarterbacks right now in first read attempts per dropback. And so like he's going to make mistakes. He's also going to do some like fun stuff and scramble around. But in between that, he will like sort of generally be executing the offense. And that offense, I think, should flow through Justin Jefferson. So I think Dobbs is like good enough to like, he's not going to hide the intent of the game plan. So
one thing I would say is I wouldn't mind using Justin Jefferson by himself. I wouldn't stack him with Dobbs.
No stack. No stack.
Because if the game's Dobbs is like the optimal or top quarterback, he's probably running it in twice.
Right. Yeah, I think you just play Jefferson.
Yeah, and I think, by the way, you can play like a lot of him. I think you can. He might be my flag plant this week. Like, how many times in your life have you gotten to play Justin Jefferson when the field is scared of him? Like everyone was afraid to play A-Chain last week. A-Chain was 6% owned last week instead of being the 2 weeks before when he came back from the injury, he was 16% owned. The last slate before he suffered the original knee injury, he was, I think, 45% owned. Like you just gotta, when the field is unsure, I think it's just, and these guys have these crazy ceilings. I think you have to capitalize. The Jaguars wide receivers with Beathard. I mean, you will get some Zay Jones, hashtag running the Sims. I just in general, what are we thinking about the cheap wide receivers this week?
The cheap ones or the Jags ones?
But either or. I guess I started out I just really, really got to talk about Zay Jones today. But yeah, no, and I guess we'll talk about Evan Ingram, Peter, your favorite player, a little bit later. Yeah, cheap wide receivers, Jaguars wide receivers. Take this where you want to
go. Elijah Moore is interesting. Again, Amari Cooper didn't practice again today. Seemed to have good rapport with Flacco. His price is up from last week, but 4,500. I think you could still stomach it. Pat, we were very close to a massive JSN game on Thursday night. Decently tough matchup, I guess, against the Niners, but 4,100. Can you go back to JSN here?
I think so. Yeah, I like JSN. It's not like an easy matchup, but they're going to have to throw. So, and I think
he's closing on Lockett in median projection. By the way, Peter, he's now within 2 points of median projection.
The flippening is coming, bud. It's coming.
I think you also want to think about like volume is obviously good for any receiver, but JSN in particular needs volume because he's going to have a shallow ADOT. Like he's deeper downfield than he used to be. But even last week he had an ADOT of 5.2, and that was with some deeper shots mixed in. So, he's more of an underneath guy. So I think you want to feel like, you probably want to play this as the Seahawks are trailing. 49ers are putting up points more easily than they did the last time. And you just got a volume play on the other side. Like, I think he pairs nicely with CMC, with that.
Yeah. We mentioned Odell earlier. I think he's in play. What about Alec Pierce? Do we chase that touchdown?
I don't think so.
No. I wouldn't do that. So these are the points per dollar guys I can kind of gather by looking through. We have Joe Flacco's adopted son, Elijah Moore, who led the NFL in ADOT, actually just in air yards total. Rashee Rice, the projections seem to finally be buying the Rashee Rice thing. They're just like, yeah, this dude is going to get 19% of Patrick Mahomes' targets. Kerrane's dude, Drake London. I guess maybe an interesting thing is the Texans. Like, do you have it in you to play a $5,000 Noah Brown? Me personally, I don't think so. There's not I don't think there is a 3K chalk wide receiver this week right now. Just kind of looking through things. Like, I don't see what have we had? Rondale Moore. We had Justin Watson. We had Elijah Moore. George brother. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Not chalk for sure. I don't see it.
I really like OBJ. I think he's pretty interesting. I mean, I guess his routes were really low in week 12, but they've been like his first read target rate has been really high over the last few weeks. So it's like when he's out there, they're really looking to get him involved, and it's a good matchup. 3,800.
Sure. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, revenge spot too for Odell.
Oh, is it? I see. It's like very weak revenge.
It's very weak revenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick your favorite like mid-range wide receiver of these guys. Michael Pittman, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase.
Olave, assuming that Jameis starts. I mean, I will be doing cartwheels if Jameis starts for Chris Olave, I think.
Who are the other two? I like Olave over Pittman.
Olave, Pittman, Ayuk, and Chase. All in the same kind of salary range. 6'9".
I might be Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the most expensive. He looked good, and like Browning looked pretty damn good.
Browning looked pretty good.
He looked like sophomore year at the University of Washington, Jake Browning, where he threw 42 touchdowns.
Okay, we did officially turn into Ship Jasek with some Jake Browning UW talk here.
So I mean, I actually think if you guys care about this, I think Chase is probably going to end up in cash builds, so that is going to inflate.
Really?
Yeah, that's my guess.
7-6. That doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, because I don't think
cash
Diggs,
play.
Keenan, Jefferson, Brown, or Evans will, and then definitely none of the guys between 7,000 and 7,600 will. So that's my thought right now.
I feel like if I was a cash bro, I'd just be like, oh, I'll just get up to a Mon-Ra. That's just me trying to put myself in a
Yeah,
cash
I mean,
brain.
you know, it's the outdoor spot. Brown secondary's been a little bit better. Amon-Ra hasn't had a smash in a couple weeks, you know.
Peter, you starting to build some shells for
Yeah,
Week 18
Peter,
cast?
we're
I'm working
close,
on my
dude.
Week 18
you
shell,
need
dude.
you need to start thinking about the shell. You got to start.
You got to get in that cash
pondering.
mindset.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Week 18. It's so soon.
Time
Yeah,
flies.
I'm gonna go ahead and flag plan Justin Jefferson while we're here. I see right now. I see Justin Jefferson at like 8.3% ownership. I mean, okay.
Do you want to make another bet? You want to put a 25 on my Ayuk, Rashi Rice for your Justin Jefferson, Zay Jones?
No, because that probably will be that'll will just be doubling down on a decision that I'm just gonna make. Like that's just gonna be a decision that I make.
Yeah,
you know?
he'll have
You're
plenty
already
of action on that.
hedging.
It's not. I'm not even pre-hedging. It's just like I'm imagining myself Sunday morning, and I'm like, "Oh, Zay Jones, he'll have chemistry with CJ Beathard. He's the backup quarterback." Like like I'm already there.
Chemistry. Jones is a starter.
If you
Jones
don't
starts
end up
this-
playing a lot of Zay Jones, circle back with me on Sunday to get your Zay Jones action in.
All right, I will. I'll send you a message in the ship chasing Discord, which, by the way, you can join if you find the link. It's a great deal. You got to join. You got to join the
Wow.
ship chasing Discord.
There we go.
Everyone. All right, Kitchen's not here, so we don't have to do the FanDuel team, right? I mean, there's just absolutely no reason for it.
There's
so,
no reason.
Yeah,
I
so we
love it.
definitely
We
don't
gotta-
have to do it.
We all have a heart out here in about 7 minutes anyways. I like that.
Yeah, we
And
all
you
have
guys-
a
There's
heart
going to be
out.
someone in the comments. Only reason I watch the show is for the FanDuel build. It was completely useless this week.
Play King Henry and then figure the rest out.
It's good. That's good. Yeah. All right, tight end.
Sam,
Sam
can you guys
Laporta?
talk me out of? I need to. You guys may need to talk me out of the small field. If I'm going likely and I'm going OBJ, do I just tack on Flowers and do a Lamar triple in small field?
What's the path to that getting there? Lamar throwing for the most passing yards he's ever thrown for in a game in his career?
Well, the salary wise, it's not that. It's 5,700, 3,500, and 3,800.
If Lamar is the highest scoring quarterback of this slate, he ran for a minimum of 1 touchdown, probably 2.
I think it's like the Fields thing, though, right? Where it's the rushing that gives him the floor and the passing touchdowns that give him like the QB1 ceiling. Like Lamar's not going to be the QB1 just on rushing alone. He's going to have to throw a couple touchdowns to be the QB1.
No, he definitely could. He definitely could, and I'm sure has.
Could you get there like if Flowers was 57, if Flowers was like 6,000 and Mark Andrews was 7,000, and I was double stacking them in a good spot?
Yeah, but that's
wouldn't seem
that's
crazy.
not the own you think it is, because you're still using another roster spot that can generate points.
Yeah, true.
But also I
but
like
if I get the same
don't
amount
think
of points.
one I never double stacked Zay and Andrews with Lamar at any
Yeah,
point this season.
I didn't
anyways,
really
'cause
either.
I didn't think it was good.
Rank. Who do you think will be more popular of these 3 tight ends clustered in the same pricing range? Sam Laporta, George Kittle, and TJ Hawkinson.
That order, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that order.
Hawkinson's not going to get played at this price with Jefferson back. There's no way.
No.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
true. I mean, we do have. I will say I'm gonna be tempted by Kincaid this week, like very, very tempted in a Liam-esque way to just
With
jam
at
Kincaid in.
5,500 with Knox back.
Yeah, he's not back.
Flappy
His
play.
21-day practice window is activated.
But
I don't
okay.
know he's back.
But like for the conversation, is the Dalton Kincaid play dependent on Knox not playing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'm
Yeah.
on board with that. But I'm just saying if Knox is active,
Okay.
I mean, it's a horrible price tag.
Someone's got to explain something to me. I have never, in a week of DFS, never, not once, has anyone ever not mentioned Tyler Conklin when talking about tight ends. Why? What we got the chat mentioning Conklin. he is the most nothing player of all time. He's also high in the points per dollar stuff when you sort right now. It's
Especially
I
just
think this might be the company you keep. I haven't thought about Conklin in like
I
10
haven't heard
weeks.
Tyler Conklin mentioned
every week.
anywhere.
I get him in the Sims too. I get him in this. Oh, it's Clay Sutton says it's a great matchup. It's a great matchup for the tight ends.
What about Cole Kmet? Because I seem to have a thing this week for double stacking and triple stacking rushing quarterbacks, but
do not double stack Fields. No, you can single stack Kmet and Fields, but don't do the double. Don't do the double.
It's a pretty good, like very good passing matchup, and the Bears' run defense has been pretty good. So like maybe the line, because the thing with the Lions is right, they want to run the ball, but they will pass the ball if they're down. So like you can play the Bears to be effective through the air, and then it can kind of shoot out. It's not like the most likely outcome, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams played together a month ago, and Fields and Kmet and DJ Moore all ended up like giga chalk, and so did St. Brown, and so did Gibbs. So I'm expecting that to happen again.
You think they will? We haven't even talked about them.
I don't know why. That's kind of crazy. We probably should have. I guess because they're all kind of weird prices, and they're not great points per dollar median values, but they're like the Sims, like when Justin Freeman does his graphic where he posts like the most optimal guys, like DJ Moore is going to be like the third highest optimal probability.
I already looked at theirs this week, and he's literally the third.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know ball at all, but I do know Sims. I do know
because like Fields. I mean, I don't know where the you know if it's all going to be mega owned, then I'll feel differently. But like Fields, maybe one of DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and then Amon-Ra. But in small field stuff, I don't mind both.
Who's more owned, Purdy or Fields? Because if it's Fields, I will just do all Fields teams this weekend, I think.
After last week, I don't know. You know, I think people want to play Purdy.
I think it'll be close. How about throwing out a tight end? Had his worst game since like mid-October. David Njoku, 4,100, but still just been earning targets at a really high clip.
Earning is a strong word.
He gets over-owned.
Targets are earned, bro.
Not his.
He gets over-owned because he's always the number one value in Leone shit, and so that flows into what people play. He's always the number one points per dollar tight end on Establish the Run, so that always makes him over-owned.
Yeah, Leone, just start sliding some of the Njoku projection over to JSN here as we head.
It's honestly, it's so unfair to Leone because I truly don't think he is involved in the nitty gritty of deciding David Njoku's target share. But it's just like, yeah, fucking Leone.
Like Dankin Brain and Jack Miller.
No, he
is as our punching bag.
I'm convinced that Leone's going in there and just clicking the little up on David Njoku.
I mean, he has. It's because he had a 15 target game 2 weeks ago, and that's like impossible to rid from your data. But it was also like the 15 worst targets you've ever seen.
Yeah, but that was also sandwiched by 2
and catches you've ever seen. They were bouncing off his hands. I mean, it's awful.
Wow, we're shipping it. We're shipping more. We're shipping more. I actually work with Dave. I work with Dave Connolly, so he knows where to find me.
This is incredible. You drumming up action from people who are lining up to play Tyler Conklin at tight end.
Dude, I got
$1,200
of DraftKings head-to-head invites last week and shipped them all.
Dude, you're like a traveling circus. Everyone wants to show up to see what the swap king is going to pull out of his bag this week.
And you know what? I did give them some swap magic. I was behind someone in a 215, so I swapped to Debo, so they were dead.
Hell yeah, dude. That's amazing.
Davis, I would like specifically follow and turn on notification for like a Davis Swap King Twitter account where it's like 1:04 p.m. Eastern. You're like, fuck, dude, thinking about swapping. And then it's like 3:45, just swap to Debo. Let's go, bitches.
I mean, Peter, it all takes place in your Discord. I'll be posting my team and I'll be like, easy, what do you think I should do? What about this swap? And he'll be like, I don't know. I think you're giving up too many points. And I'm like, yeah, totally. But then I do it anyways. It's just
Davis is just like the like Nick Young 3-point shot, except Davis keeps hitting it when he turns around.
one of these weeks, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen pretty soon. I'm gonna do a swap, and it's gonna be a disaster. Like I'm gonna swap on someone who immediately gets injured, or like I'll be so far behind. I'll be like, I'll swap to Cooper Kupp. No one will see it coming, and he goes 3 for 30. Like there's no way I escape 18 weeks of a season without one swap disaster. Like no chance.
As Sean points out, we do have Art out, so
yeah, hard out.
Wrap up the show.
Actually, can we do this real quick, Kerrane? What has your process been like creating teams this year? Are you a sim user? Are you a toilet builder, bro? Like, kind of what is
just triple stacks guys that can't possibly support 3 pass catchers.
Yeah. The salaries are low. I'm just talking it out. It's Wednesday. I've been using the Sims on the solver. It's definitely like kind of like it's been tough for me because I've been changing my process this year to account for the Sims, but I also like feel like I want to go back closer to like my old process where I was like building. I think I need to build more lineups for my own brain and then take those to the Sims and then come back and get ideas. But essentially, I think people talk about the Sims like making the games harder. To me, it makes Saturday less of a day that I can just not do anything. Like I want to just not do DFS stuff like a lot on Saturday and I always woke up early and done like a ton Sunday morning, but I think I need to do more Saturday night and get more ideas generated.
I've been the opposite because I've been like laser focused on like drafting through up until Saturday night. And then I pivot over, and it's been helpful for me because I used to be the king of getting anchored to an early lineup I love or an early player. And then like ownership or injury or another guy would pop up and I'd be like, I don't want to rearrange this lineup for this guy. Like, so coming in like Sunday after has actually, I think, helped me make better lineups. But I do agree that you got to find that equilibrium of enough time to tinker and mess around, but also without getting too anchored.
So what I've been doing is I've been running the Sims before building anything. So I know guys I like I do all my shows, but so when I go reserve all my contests for the week, I don't put a placeholder lineup in. I just reserve the entries in the contest because I don't even want to be like, oh, well, clearly the roster construction is, you use cheap wide receiver here, a $4,000 tight end here. You have these 4 running backs to choose from, and then you fill the stack in around them. Obviously, I'm still staying poor with this strategy, so not that it's like foolproof or anything. But I find it easier to accept the kooky shit that the Sims wants to give you if you do that. If you are not like, I already have a team saved, and that team that I have saved looks way better than this dog shit.
Well, one thing that I've really enjoyed about messing with the Sims, like for instance, last week I knew I wanted to have a Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane team. I knew for a fact I was going to have one of that. And, I thought, okay, I'll first try with Tua. And like, I could not get any teams with Tua to like grade out well with those 3 guys. And then I started messing around with some of the vomit stacks, like the cheap quarterbacks, and then getting those 2 guys in around it. And it liked that a lot more. And so it helped me stumble upon a lineup that it was like, I always knew I was going to have it, but I didn't know which way I was going to configure it. And the Sims kind of push you in the right direction.
One thing I've been wanting to do more of is like getting to a lineup that the Sims like, but then making like little changes off of that I'm like, I don't really care at that point what the Sims think. Like I've kind of like IKBing to stuff that I like better. Just like same team player swaps, that type of thing, where it's like the Sims, that's where the Sims aren't really giving me much. The Sims are they're going to be very projection reliant there.
I think that's
the game environment and the salary and the ownership stuff's kind of already baked in.
And then the key is like making sure you're not tweaking something that the Sim would be liking for correlation purposes. Like last week, I saw a lot of teams that had David Njoku and Elijah Moore without Flacco. And if you were like, oh, I'm going to do a different tight end instead of Njoku, it's like, well, the Sim is probably liking this block of points from these 2 players. But say you switch like Elijah Moore to Amari Cooper and went up and then whatever. Like my guess is the correlation there would still be working pretty well.
The number one thing I've learned that is negative EV that I was doing like every single week was punting 2 spots off. So it'd be like a lot of weeks I would have Quentin Johnston and Zay Jones, just like hypothetically, just like 2 guys who like, it's like you squint and you maybe see it. You could play 1 squint and maybe see a guy per lineup, but 2 is like you're like 20 points off the optimal just doing that already. Like you're already like so far behind doing that.
Have either of you guys done any double tight end in tournament lineups this year?
Yes.
Yeah,
one of the Kelsey weeks I did.
Yeah.
Like I played
Well,
Kelsey
McBride. There was a couple McBride weeks where I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do McBride and another tight end.
Well, the reason I asked too is because it's been funny, right? Historically, it would be like you play the punt guy, the 2,500, the 2,900, and then you use the second guy as like a glorified receiver, like the Kittle, the Kelsey. But this year, like when you look at the Sims, it has been the year of the like mid 4.5 to 5K tight end. It's like Ingram and McBride pop, back when Kincaid was always in that role. And so like the 2 mid-tier tight ends continually popping has been Njoku, obviously being another one, Ingram. It's been like, I continue to like wave it. And then what do you see ship last week? Trey McBride and Brevin Jordan teams, because Brevin Jordan ended up outperforming the punt wide receivers who he was another $1,000 cheaper than.
It's because there's an artificial deflation on tight end salary. If Trey McBride was a wide receiver, he'd be 6,000. He'd cost what Zay Flowers does.
I had a lineup with Deontay Johnson, and it was a 3 running back lineup, so I didn't have the option to play Trey McBride in addition to Brevin Jordan. I had Brevin Jordan in that lineup plus Deontay, and then 3 running backs. And the whole time I just kept looking at that lineup being like, I just wish Deontay was Trey McBride. Like it's not a swap I could have made with that, but like even just thinking about like their real life kind of profiles, like Trey McBride has a cooler profile than Deontay Johnson. It's a similar, like he's going to earn a bunch of targets, but he actually does some stuff with them. So yeah, I agree with Davis. I think if he was a wide receiver, he'd just be priced higher.
All right.
I'm with
hard
you.
out.
All right. Hard out, everyone. Thank you very much for listening and watching the Swolecast. Make sure to tweet at Soccer Dave. Tell him you missed him. Tell him it's not the same without him. Far too much actionable information in this program. Just a 10-minute discussion of the Sims and how we are using them and some of the blind spots that we have and that the Sims have. No one wants that. No one tunes into the Swolecast for that. They want dick jokes. And so Soccer Dave will be back to provide that and more next week. See you later.